Wednesday marks the 18th anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. At a recent forum, then White House Chief of Staff Andrew Card talked about the moment when he informed President George W. Bush of the attacks as the president was reading a story to second graders in Florida.
You are going to be remembered forever for a scene that has been played over on television from time to time. When 9/11 happened, you were with President Bush, I think in Florida. Is that right?
The Emma E. Booker School in Sarasota, Florida.
Right. So you were the person who went in and whispered in his ear that something had happened in the World Trade Center. What did you whisper in his ear, and what were you thinking when you were first told about it?
I'll put things in context. When we arrived at the school, there was a buzz in the air. Karl Rove, for example, said, "Anybody hear about a plane crash in New York City?" We arrived to this classroom that had been converted to a White House command center. And we go in there. I went into the classroom where the president was going to sit with second graders to see if it was ready for him. I looked around. I saw the second graders lined up, ready to come into the school. They were all excited. I saw a misspelled word on a bulletin board. I said, "Get a book cover." It covered up. I didn't want a potato moment. And I saw the press pool gathering with Ari Fleischer, getting ready to come into the room. I then stepped into the holding room, and I was standing right next to the president and the principal of the school when a Navy captain by the name of Deb Lauer, who was the acting national security advisor on the trip, the director of the White House Situation Room, came up to the president and said, "Sir, it appears a small twin-engine prop plane crashed into one of the towers at the World Trade Center in New York City." The principal, the president, and I had the same reaction. "Oh, what a horrible accident. The pilot must have had a heart attack or something." And that was literally spoken. And then the principal opened the door to the classroom, and she and the president walked into the classroom. The door shut, and I'm standing there, and Captain Lauer comes up to me and says, "Sir, it appears it was not a small twin-engine prop plane, it was a commercial jetliner." My mind flashed to the fear that the passengers on the plane must have had. They had to know it wasn't gaining altitude. I don't know why that's where my mind went, but that's where it went. And then a nanosecond later, Captain Lauer came up to me again and said, "Oh my God, another plane hit the other tower at the World Trade Center." I stood at the door, and my mind flashed to three initials: UBL, Osama bin Laden. I knew about Al-Qaeda. I knew about the attacks on the World Trade Center in 1992, early 93. And then I performed a test that chiefs of staff have to perform all the time. Does the president need to know? This was an obvious test to pass. Yes. I decided that I was going to pass on two facts and make one editorial comment, and I was going to do nothing to invite the president to have a conversation with me. I presumed that he was sitting underneath the boom microphone. I knew he was sitting kind of center stage in a classroom, and there was a press pool watching everything that he was doing. I thought about what I would say. I opened the door to the classroom, and as I stepped into the classroom, I came in from behind the president. He did not see me coming in. And the teacher of the second graders was conducting a dialogue between the students and the president. Say good morning to the president. "Good morning, Mr. President." This stilted dialogue is taking place. I didn't want to interrupt it. The press pool included Ann Compton, right there. And Ann Compton saw me enter from behind the president's back, if you will, and she looked at me and said, and I responded, and Ann responded, "What?" And then the teacher told the students to take out their books. They were going to read with the president, My Pet Goat. And as they were reaching for their books under their desks, I walked in and walked up behind the president. He did not see me coming, did not know that I was there. And I leaned down and I whispered into his right ear, "A second plane hit the second tower. America is under attack." That was all I said to him. I stood back from him so that he couldn't ask me a question. He never turned around. I could see his head bobbing up and down. I paused, He did not get out of his chair. I was pleased with how he responded. He did nothing to introduce fear to those second graders. He also did nothing to demonstrate fear to the media that would have translated it to the satisfaction of the terrorists all around the world. I then went back to the door to the holding room, again looked at the president. I could still see his head bobbing up and down. I saw the students completely engrossed in their books, oblivious to my commentary to the president. I saw the press pool. They had all turned and were now talking to Ari Fleischer, not looking at the president. And in my left peripheral vision, I saw Secretary Rod Page, the Secretary of Education, the principal of the school, and a White House staffer named Sandy Kress, who was an education expert, and they were mouthing, "What's up?" I then stepped into the holding room. The door shut behind me. The first thing I said was, "Get the FBI director on the phone, Bob Mueller." He'd only been the FBI director for 10 days. Get a line open to the vice president, get a line open to the White House Situation Room. To the crew of Air Force One, I said, "Go back and get on the plane. We're going to have to get out of here." To the Secret Service, I said, "Prepare to get the motorcade going." To Dan Bartlett, the acting communications director on the trip, I said, "Get some remarks written for the president. We have 650 people in an auditorium or a gymnasium. The president will have to say something to them, but he can't say anything we do not know to be the truth." The president came into the holding room after about 7.5 minutes. It didn't seem that long. And the first thing he said was, "Get the FBI director on the phone." We could say, "He's right here, Mr. President." I watched the president step up to his responsibility. I'm convinced when he was sitting in that chair, he focused on his oath of office: preserve, protect, and defend. And that's what I believe. He became president. So the rest of that day is history. I feel no fear in raising it with you because we all promised we'd never forget. It's an iconic photograph. I am not iconic, but it does define a day. And I don't want you to remember the day because I whispered in the president's ear. I want you to remember because of what I said to the president, the world changed. 3,000 people died that day. Many of them were heroes, civilians. Many of them were EMTs and responders. And then thousands more joined the military because of what happened that day. And 3,000 of them made sacrifices so that we could be here today.